Most fans understand the financials that they're reading, the financials that they're seeing in front of them, and they are overwhelmingly backing the owners at this point. Annie Constable put this post up to her article, which I did a video on yesterday. And I wanted to look at some of the responses.
What if I told you the biggest twist in this entire WNBA CBA drama isn't coming from the boardroom? It's coming from the fans. Yeah, you heard that right. After weeks of messy, public back-and-forth negotiations playing out like a full-blown reality show, something absolutely wild is happening. The hardcore hoop heads, the real ones who live and breathe basketball, are lining up behind the billionaire owners instead of the players. That's not just surprising, that's a straight-up game changer. And if you're the players' union, that has to feel like a clutch 3 from the logo, by the other team. But don't just take my word for it. Listen to what's being said. Check this out.
Or they're fed up with all this, or all the above. I gotta tell you. Come on. It should be 15% net revenue. I thought that's the highest the owners were offering. The league has never made any money. The players should sign now. They got some housing back. They are looking very greedy. That is the takeaway. That is the takeaway. The players need to understand they are employees of a league that never made any money. They do not have the upper hand here. I mean, seriously.
That was wild, right? You can literally feel the temperature rising. But let's really sit with this for a second. When was the last time in pro sports history that the general public looked at billionaire owners and said, yeah, we're with them? That almost never happens. Owners are usually the villains. The suits. The bad guys in every labor war. And yet right now, the script has flipped. And let's not sugarcoat this. This isn't some minor disagreement at the bargaining table where both sides posture and then shake hands. No, this is turning into a full-blown PR meltdown. We're talking about a narrative spiral that's moving fast and getting ugly. Because once fans start digging into the numbers, once they start seeing the financial reality laid out cold and raw, it tells a story that a lot of players simply don't want to hear. And that's where things get uncomfortable. But wait until you see what those numbers actually look like. This next part changes everything.
Net. That gross revenue, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I mean, seriously. The WNBA owners view it as a big risk that the WNBA only has one revenue-generating player and one player that draws big ratings. They're not going to lock themselves into a long-term deal unless others can prove market value. Multiple teams get 50 to 75% of their gate from 2 Caitlin Clark games.
That right there. That's the part that should really make people nervous. Because when you scroll through those replies, when you actually read what fans are saying, this isn't noise. This isn't trolls chasing clout. These are the day ones. The diehards. The fans who were rocking with the league before the sellouts, before the viral highlights, before the mainstream hype wave hit. These are the people who understand the cap numbers. Who've tracked expansion talks. Who've watched the ratings spike and the revenue climb over the last 2 seasons. They've seen the growth. They've celebrated it. And now, they're looking at this situation and saying, hold up, something's not adding up. And when your most loyal base starts questioning the strategy during a massive growth window, that's not just chatter, that's pressure. Real pressure. Because what happens next depends on whether the players lean into that growth or gamble it. And the next clip. It shows exactly why that gamble could get real risky, real fast.
The league isn't budging, and they probably shouldn't at this point. The union will need to sign the CBA or go ahead and strike and see what happens. I don't believe they have leverage they think they do. They've got no leverage. The players have no leverage in this. You know, they think they do. No, you've got one player that's got some leverage. One. And she's about to be a third-year player.
And that clip. That's where it starts getting uncomfortable. Because now the language isn't polite. It's not "we disagree." Fans are throwing around words like delusional, greedy. That's heavy. That's not casual criticism, that's frustration boiling over. One commenter hit on something that a lot of people don't want to say out loud. The league has never turned a profit. Not once. Through all the growth, all the investment, all the momentum, it's still operating in the red. And now, in the middle of that reality, the players are reportedly pushing for 27% of gross revenue. Gross. Not net. Gross. That's a massive swing. That's stepping up to the plate and calling your shot from the parking lot. And to some fans, that feels bold. To others, it feels reckless. Because when you're asking for a bigger slice of a pie that hasn't technically made money yet, people are going to question the math. And once the math gets questioned, the entire narrative shifts. But here's the part most people are missing, the context behind that 27%. And when you see what's really driving that number, this whole debate gets even more intense. Watch this.
This is wild. Still on a rookie deal. I mean, come on. Come on. This is hilarious. No season unrivaled can set up a 5x5 league instead. And what, start it next year? They're already playing. I mean, come on. Clearly, the offer is offer at this point, sign or strike.
Now that right there, that's where the disconnect gets loud. Because when you actually crunch the numbers, the gap between expectation and reality is massive. We're talking about franchises pulling somewhere between 50 to 75% of their entire annual gate revenue from just 2 games, 2 against Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Let that breathe for a second. That's 1 rookie, 1 player, 2 regular season nights. And suddenly arenas are sold out, ticket prices are spiking, secondary markets are going crazy. That's not normal growth. That's a surge. That's a tidal wave. And whether people like it or not, that wave is carrying balance sheets right now. So when fans look at this negotiation, they're not just thinking emotionally. They're thinking, hold up, if one superstar matchup is propping up that much revenue, what does the overall financial structure really look like? Is this sustainable? Is it scalable? Or is it still fragile? And that's where this debate turns from hype to hard business. Because if a single rookie matchup is driving that kind of money, the owners are looking at long-term stability, while the players are looking at immediate leverage. And in this next clip, you're going to see exactly why that tension is about to explode even more.
Oh, man. The WNBA is just playing around. Just take the deal already. Where F, the players are too hard-headed to accept their proposal. The strike is looming, and to be honest, not sure we are going to have a season. Wrap it up, put it in storage. Let's try again in 2027. I get where the league is coming from, given the attendance and viewership is primarily driven by a single player and team.
And that's the tension you just felt in that clip. Because while the players are talking confidence, the owners are staring at spreadsheets. Cold numbers. Hard projections. That imbalance we just broke down. That's not a debate point for ownership, that's their daily reality. Meanwhile, union leadership is out here projecting strength, talking about leverage, momentum, power plays. And look, I get it. After that 2024 season, the ratings spike, the viral moments, the sold-out arenas, it felt unstoppable. It felt like the league finally hit that rocket boost. So they made a bold move. They opted out early. They pushed the chips to the center of the table, believing the momentum was permanent. Believing the growth curve would only go one direction, straight up. But here's the brutal part. As the dust settles and the hype wave stabilizes, it's starting to look like they may have read the room wrong. Not a little wrong. Badly wrong. Because leverage only works if the other side believes you can actually hurt them. And in this next clip, you're going to see why that assumption, that they held all the cards, might be the biggest gamble of this entire saga.
Off the street, and then you go to the gym and get $100 gym membership with that $100. Well, that's great, except guess what? Are you going to find another $100 just laying in the street when your gym membership comes due next month? And I was like, boom, that is a great analogy, because that's what an expansion.
And here's where the math gets exposed. Because what you just heard, that's the core issue. The player's side is looking at expansion fees, relocation payments, all that fresh cash flowing in, and treating it like it's a permanent revenue engine. Like it's guaranteed money that's going to hit every single year. But anybody who understands basic economics knows that's not how this game works. Expansion fees are one-time hits. Relocation checks. One-time hits. That's not recurring revenue. That's not sustainable cash flow. That's a spike, not a stream. It's like finding a random $100 on the sidewalk and immediately upgrading your lifestyle because you think that same 100 is going to magically reappear next month. That's not business. That's gambling on luck. And owners, they don't build leagues on luck. They build them on predictability, stability, long-term margins. So when they hear arguments built on one-time windfalls being framed like guaranteed income, alarms start going off. Which sets up the biggest question of all. If that money isn't recurring, then what does the long-term revenue picture actually look like? And when you see that breakdown in this next clip, the entire leverage conversation shifts again.
Processing of the numbers and where the league really is, and they still believe fans are showing up for them, and it's these players are completely, the word I keep seeing from fans, delusional and greedy. Tell me what you think. The fans are out.
And that right there, that was the MIC drop moment. Because once you zoom out and look at the full battlefield, this isn't just noise anymore, this is a standoff. You've got owners drawing a hard line at 15% of net revenue. Not gross. Net. After expenses. After the bills. And from everything coming out of those closed-door meetings, they are not moving. Not an inch. Why would they? This is a league that bled money for nearly 3 decades. For 27 straight years, it survived off subsidies and patience. That's not hate, that's history. Now fast forward. There's finally real growth. Real buzz. Real ticket demand. But let's be honest, a huge chunk of that surge is orbiting around one name, Caitlin Clark. One superstar. Still on a rookie deal. And the union wants to lock in massive long-term revenue percentages based on what could very well be a short-term spike. From a cold, hard business lens, that's a gamble. Owners are basically saying, prove it's sustainable. Show us this isn't a one-year popularity bubble. And fans, shockingly, they're nodding along. Scroll through the comments. It's brutal. Sign the deal. Take the offer. You don't have leverage. That's not trolls talking. That's the same fan base that would need to stand in solidarity during a strike. And instead of waving union flags, they're saying walk away if you want, just don't expect us to bankroll it. That's a death blow in labor negotiations. You cannot win a sports business war when ticket buyers are rooting against your strategy. And here's the wild twist, in almost every modern pro sports dispute, the public sides with the players. This time, they're siding with billionaires. That almost never happens. There's also a generational split happening. The old-school loyalists who carried this league through lean years. Exhausted. Tired of off-court drama. Tired of financial ultimatums. The brand-new fans who showed up for Clark. They're here for buckets, not bargaining agreements. They're not emotionally invested in CBA minutiae. So who exactly shows up if there's a strike? That expansion money everyone keeps pointing to. That's found money. One-time injections. Not recurring streams. You can't build long-term payroll obligations off one-off checks. That's accounting 101. Owners see fragility. The union sees momentum. Both can't be right at the same time. And here's the brutal chess move the union probably should have made. Wait one more season. Let 2025 prove the growth is real. Build undeniable leverage. then strike from strength. Instead, they opted out early, went aggressive, made public ultimatums, and lost the PR war before the real war even started. Now they're trapped. Sign a deal that's smaller than what they publicly demanded, or strike and risk watching whatever support they have left evaporate. Make no mistake, the owners aren't budging on that 15% net split. They'll sweeten lifestyle perks, travel, housing, quality of life upgrades. But that revenue vault, locked, key gone. So here we are. Pride versus patience. Emotion versus math. And let's clear something up before anyone twists this. This isn't about whether these athletes deserve better pay in general. Most reasonable fans would say yes, they do. The real question is whether this specific league, in its current fragile financial state, can afford those demands without risking collapse if the hype cools off. Right now, the check writers are saying no. And the ticket buyers are agreeing. If this heads to a strike and opening day comes with empty arenas and frozen game checks, that's when we find out who actually had leverage all along. Because passionate tweets don't win labor wars. Sustainable revenue does. So buckle up. This saga is far from over. And if you want unfiltered breakdowns, real business talk, and zero sugarcoating on everything happening around the WNBA, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, lock in with WNBA vibe, and stay ahead of the storm. Because when this thing explodes, we're breaking it down play by play.